This is the Amp Hour Podcast, recorded November 23rd, 2016. Episode 324, Mapping Out Nerdery.
Welcome to the Amp Hour. I'm Dave Jones from the EEV blog.
And I'm Chris Gamble of Contextual Electronics.
Can we, change our intro? We've been doing that for, 300 and something episodes now.
Sure, try again.
Oh, no. Don't put me on the spot like that.
Welcome to the Wacky Amp Hour.
Somebody did me a cool intro for the EEV blog. They did it.
I saw that, the 80s style,
1980s VHS thing. I thought that was cool.
It reminded me because we just had Tony on last week, and he has some kind of similar 80s style there is that certain quality to it. You know, you need the audio to kind of slowly turn on, and it's certain lo-fi quality to it all, right?
Yep. I like it. I might actually put it as the intro in my retro videos. So anything, if I do an 80s teardown, which I'm probably going to go shoot after this, actually. I've got an 80s computer I'm going to tear down. And, I might just slip it in there, without comment,
Yeah, why not? Right.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
I don't know. Those things are fun, I think. I think it's... I think it might get old after a little while, but it's right at the beginning. Why not, right? That's fun stuff.
I wouldn't use it every episode. I've got, I had an intro for years, and I just don't like them anymore. I just want the content straight in,
get to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's hi. Bam, straight into it.
Boom, go, right. Yeah, it's funny how that stuff is formative though too, right? I mean because there's so much of you grow up kind of watching that content, or not even content, it's oh, the program's on now, right? You kind of
right, yes, exactly. Yeah. And you're getting ready for it, and you're
right, but specifically with
Curiosity,
the 80 exactly, that kind of stuff.
And they'll have the jingle and Yep.
What did you used to want for my era it was Bill Nye was the big one.
Well, here it was the Curiosity Show.
Here in
Australia.
That's what that is. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah.
So so they had the intro jingle. Curiosity, what in the which, how, or why, and blah blah blah, and you got ready, and it hyped you up for the thing. But no, in today's fast-paced information world, no.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think so. I saw that. So you were talking about Tesla 500's video, and he even talks in his intro about Mythbusters, right? And that was kind of a. I'm sure that people a couple years younger than me,
oh yeah, it'd be Mythbusters.
Mythbusters would have been the big one too, right?
Of course.
So, yeah.
Yep.
And we should mention at the top of the show, we will have Tesla 500 on the show next week. I don't know if that's a spoiler, but we'll be talking to him next week.
Yep.
So at least that's the plan. We'll see. We'll see how hopefully it all works out.
I've just released a video reviewing his camera. It's very cool.
That thing is so okay. So tell me about that real quick. I mean, we'll obviously be talking about it next week, but you mentioned tens of thousands of frames.
21,000 frames per second is its best case, but it can only do 60 pixels high at that because it only gets one strip of video. So it's great if you're shooting a bullet through a balloon, and you watch that bullet go horizontally across. It's great for shooting that.
Gotcha.
But it's not the format that you want for, anything else. So,
cool.
Yep. But no, it's...
Yeah.
But even if you do HD, not full HD, but, 1280 by 720, it'll still do 1,500 frames a second. So, which is very useful. Yep.
Yeah, and we'll talk all about. So, and if people have questions about that stuff, or they want us to ask questions next week, you can post the questions to our subreddit, and we'll try and get those in.
Yep. There is on the forum about this camera. Somebody, I think it was Mike, actually, pointed to another Kickstarter. Like, it was basically competition for this. It actually got funded for like a couple of €100,000 or something. I think it's in Europe or something. And they did a similar thing. They did a high-speed camera just like this. It's not as good. It's not nearly as good. But it's sort of like, but it was much cheaper. It was like $1,000 as opposed to $2,500. And it got funded. And the interesting thing about this, which I didn't believe at the time, but I think if you go through and run the numbers, it could actually work. And it's why maybe they've got the cost down, is that they actually use as the video frame buffer, right? Because it's got to be high speed, right? So you've got to buffer that stuff. They actually save it directly to NAND flash.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes, whereas I thought, it wouldn't be fast enough, but I guess it is. If you look at the throughput and you do the bit throughput and you look at the calculation and all that sort of stuff, they store it directly, whereas Dave's camera, his one stores it to RAM first. It stores it to DRAM. So that's why you can only store 4 seconds of footage, right? Because there's a limit to how much DRAM you can, actually, because you need to write to it fast and often, because it's continuously looping. So it'll sit there. So once you arm the recording, it'll just sit there continually recording that 4-second loop. Right,
yeah,
and
it's then like FIFO where like you get the newest footage just pushing out the oldest footage kind of thing, right?
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a continuous loop, and as soon as you press stop, then it will it's captured that 4 seconds worth. Yeah. Or you can also have a post trigger thing as well, where once you press stop or trigger it, it'll go for half the buffer again or something like that. So
right. Yeah, that data throughput stuff is nuts, and I'm sure like that stuff like that's going to be a great question for next week too, where we'll be able to ask about, like you got to just, especially like with the bit widths of how much data is coming out of that sensor and everything. It's
1.5 gigabits per second data rate from the sensor. Yeah,
that's crazy.
But hey, but that's serialized, right? So you whack that into a little FPGA or CPLD or something so that you can parallelize it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So that's serial data coming in, but you don't store stuff serially, right? You put it into bytes and then you store it in memory, right? So then, that sounds like a high data rate, but then if you store it at byte-wise, for example, then you actually divide that figure by 8, and that's your byte data write rate, so... Yeah. It's different. And then if you're storing 32 bits at once, because you've got a 32-bit wide memory, so the wider you make your memory, if you've got 64-bit memory, for example, then you divide that 1.5 gig bits by 64, and actually I'm going to do that, 1.5 divided by 64-bit wide memory, you're only looking at 23 meg, right? So that is your write rate, 23 meg.
Yeah, it's still pretty fast, but
it's
yeah,
I
know what you're getting at. Yep. So
anyway, that what I found interesting about that cheap ass camera is that it was storing it directly to flash. Now, not only is it there are potentially speed issues there, but also if you're continuously arming and writing to that. Well, of course, if you continuously write into flash, that's not a terrific thing. Although they've got, wear leveling technology and everything these days for these solid-state drives, but still, they do have a finite lifespan. I mean, you don't want to... I mean, you get one of these modern PC solid-state drives, and you continually write to it 24/7 over the whole thing. It ain't going to last that long.
Mm.
I don't know the number
behind
on usage,
that, but usually I use like 1,000 to 2,000 erase cycles for like, I mean, you get more when you have that other technology in there to kind of detect
to actually wear level it out, so you're not always writing to the same spot. Because if you always write to the same spot, bingo, it can be gone in like an hour. So anyway, very interesting stuff.
We'll talk more about that next week, I'm sure too. So that'll be. People have questions, write on in.
That will be interesting. And I'll be doing a teardown of that too, with Dave helping out in some.
Oh, awesome!
We haven't figured out how to do that yet. Maybe a Skype call or something. So,
All right. So what? Well, no, I was going to ask more about the high speed stuff. So.
Yep. Go.
No. I'll ask. Like I said, I'll ask that next week. Yeah. We'll get there.
Okay. Yeah, we've already been rattling on for 10 minutes. Next.
Yeah. I don't know what's next.
Where are you at the moment? Are you back home?
Oh yeah, I'm at my parents' house. I'm in Buffalo.
Okay. right?
Yes, tomorrow is a holiday here. It's Thanksgiving in the U.S., so...
I have no idea what that is, but okay.
The following day is the real holiday, right, is Black Friday.
What do you mean the following day is the real holiday?
The joke being that, it's the shopping holiday. So Black Friday is... Oh,
is that Black Friday thing, is it?
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
Okay. Right, maybe I should have a Black Friday sale on my multimeter on Amazon, should I?
Sure, why not?
Okay.
I don't know how that would work, but why not?
Well, I just put in a product discount thing. Amazon's weird. Tell you what, I've just listed my product on Amazon Canada, right? And I thought, because the Canadian, the Mexican, and the US Amazon sites are linked in terms of your seller account, right? In terms of your logged in seller account, they're linked, right? And I copied my product and it said, do you want to sell your product in Canada? Oh, yeah, hell yeah. Right? Just hit this single button and it'll all be done for you. Great. Okay, I did that and it listed my product. Or I copied it over. Mm-hmm. And so I copied so I didn't have to re-upload the photos and the description and all that sort of stuff. So all that sort of stuff worked. But then they said, no, it's not visible. You've got to send stock to Amazon Canada, So now I'm, right. Sometimes I do wish for the world was just a flat, open trade economy and there was no bullshit and anyone could trade with anyone and there were no import restrictions and tariffs and...
that would be very interesting, I think. I think that would definitely be... because people talk about that stuff. I don't know what that would actually look like.
Neither do I, but as from a seller's point of view, it's bloody annoying. Europe is a pain in the ass to sell into for anyone outside of Europe, getting stuff in there. And shit, I can't even sell in bloody Canada from my warehouse in the US. They're practically cousins, aren't they? Canada and the US.
Pretty much, yeah.
I don't see a big fence all along the border,
No comment.
It's just annoying. And of course, then I want to sell on Amazon UK as well and get into Europe. No, that's an entirely separate website. I have to create a new account, new login. Can't even download my product info from Amazon US, so I don't have to re-enter it all. I've got to create that I can find anyway. It's just bloody hell. So
it's interesting just kind of thinking about how much of industry is kind of dedicated to logistics and then the legal aspects and the accounting aspects. All that stuff really does start to mess with things. So,
we're at least here in Australia, we're pretty easy. Anything under $1,000, no drama. It just comes straight in.
That's good.
So, Anyway, it still pays me though to ship my stuff from Taiwan to Australia, import it here, and then reship it to the US. The Amazon warehouse. Yeah, I don't say I could potentially get it, all done, shipped directly from Taiwan to the US, but to the Amazon warehouse in the US. But it's just, it's not. Wouldn't save me a huge amount. So
Yep.
Because import duties here aren't much, It's like I pay GST, goods and services tax, but I can actually claim that back. So it's it's fine.
Good.
So it doesn't actually ultimately come out of my pocket. So,
awesome. Yeah,
no, it's all good. Anyway, Amazon.
Yeah. Well, it is kind of like that logistics layer that people usually don't want to think about. So we have, even just on this week, we have a bunch of stuff about, Kickstarters and startups and all that, similar kind of thing. But no one's starting a Kickstarter, no one's starting a startup and being like, I want to get into the depths of the shipping logistics. They have to, and they're the best ones are really good at it, right? But it's, most of them care about things like, what's one of these things? Internet of Things standards.
We've got a thing on that.
There's better examples than that. I did. Yeah, it's from Hackaday. But it's just saying that there's really not a standard. That's basically the basics there.
Oh, right. So it's an article. The heading is a Rebel Alliance for Internet of Things standards, and then what? There is no standard. Oh, well, hence it's a Rebel Alliance.
It could. Right? One of the things was it could have been with Twitter. Twitter could have. They were actually going to attach metadata to tweets for a while, and then they decided not to do that. Yeah, that part was actually pretty interesting. But they obviously went in a different direction, and now with hindsight, it's like, oh, maybe you should have. But I don't know. It's interesting too because.
One of my favourite bloggers, hang on, Cringely, I'm going to find it. He did an interesting article on this because he did a startup company before the internet, before the World Wide Web, so like 1994 or something. And anyway, let me find it. It's very interesting. And mentioned that because of all the Internet of Things attacks, they turn them into zombie machines and they're doing the denial of service attacks.
The DDoS,
the DDoS attacks. And there's a way around that, So his article's entitled "Saving the Internet of Things," and it's really based on tech which he did before the World Wide Web came along. So you don't use your traditional web services; you use the internet infrastructure. But you don't use the layers that we're used to using these days that can be hacked so easily,
Right.
So, it's rather interesting. I'll definitely link that in. Have a read.
Cool. No, that's great. Yeah, it's there are some other standards out there too, but I think that's what it comes like. What you're saying, it comes down to people are, especially the people that are writing software, are used to using a lot of these transport layers that that have a lot of infrastructure around them. So if you do take a little bit more time,
not invented here syndrome, right?
And explain what that is for people that don't know.
Not invented here is companies generally do not like stuff that's invented somewhere else. If it's not invented here, and not invented within our company, then no, we don't want to. We don't want to use it. We don't want to adopt it.
Right. And I think in the negative case, it's basically that's ego, right? That's like people saying, "Oh, well, I could do it better. I would have done this and this. I might as well start from scratch."
Or there could be technical reasons behind it. Oh, we want it to do something slightly different, so therefore we're just going to have to scrap the whole thing and do it our way. So
right. I think on the opposite end of the spectrum, though, there's a legit reason where it's like, I don't want to be beholden to someone else, right? So imagine everyone picked up Twitter as their way of delivering, sensor data for whatever, or if this then that, or many of the services are already out there. Like people saying, well, that's great until and it works now, but what about when it stops working? What about when they jack the price up? Whatever.
And we've talked about that endlessly. Yep.
Yeah, right. But I think that is still a valid argument. I mean, there was an article we had on the list here this week about Nest shouldn't be a hardware company; they should be a services company, right? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it's okay. So basically, the idea is that the economics don't work because they're selling it for $250, but only 60 of that is going towards the company, whereas that's not enough margin to really make them survive.
Yeah, they realize they can't make a killing with an Internet of Things bloody hardware thermostat.
Right. And so the author is basically proposing that you really lower the price of the hardware and then you make it all up on the services on the back end. But again, that's the same problem of, well, now your thermostat in 3 years when Google /Nest/ whatever their alphabet's called, right? When they stop doing it, then what? Then what? You're like, your house stops working, your heat stops working or something. I don't know.
It does. It stops working. Right? Yeah. And if you don't think that's going to happen, you're an idiot. It's already happened countless times, and we're not even 10 years into the Internet of Things,
Right, but we say that from our perspective. I mean, for some people, it's just not it's not an option, right? It's not like they're going to, they're buying it, and either they say, I'm either going to rebuy it in 3 years, or I'm going to just deal with it for whenever. But,
most people don't think about it. They think it's not going to happen. They don't give it a moment's thought. Or if they do, they just brush it away. Nah, who cares, you'll care when it stops bloody working.
Right.
But all we can do is say, I told you so.
Right. Yeah.
And with who wouldn't want to, what company wouldn't want to own the platform though?
Well, that's
right?
the main thing,
and,
right?
And that's the problem, right? Why be tied? If you're a company that's in this Internet of Things, why would you want to be tied to somebody else's platform when you could make your own platform and you could be number one? It's like that's
my
why
standard.
These standards.
I control it. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you see an Internet of Things standards ever happening? I can't.
Me?
I think there might be one dominant player, but they might last 10 years and then something else comes along. It's like, I can't, you.
I don't think so. If anything, I think it's like what you're saying. Like if it was big enough that it got taken up by everybody and they kept it open, then maybe. But I don't think that would really happen.
Yeah, I can't see that happening as a natural part of the growth of the Internet of Things. It's just, no.
Yeah. It's especially interesting, I think, with the focus on home stuff, right? Like that's you see that a lot with projects too. People are like, oh, I think they're popular because people can envision, oh, I have blank problem in my house, and I can think about solving it with blank, right? And either people are going to solve it themselves, or they're going to go and buy a solution that seems to solve that same kind of thing, and so it's very easy to visualize like that.
Here's where I think Cringely is possibly right on this, and probably the only way I can see it happening is that it needs to be an internet layer in itself, right? Like we've got HTTP, right, for our web and all that, and we've got all these different services, and I'm not really into the actual technical details of all this stuff, but the internet, in quote marks, is made up of all these different layers of protocols and stuff. The Internet of Things probably needs its own layer like that, perhaps. Is it like the, Aussie layer? The ISO-Aussie layer?
I don't know what that is, actually.
Yes. God, I used to know this stuff. The OSI layers. The OSI model. The OSI model of how like the communications network. Come on, help me out.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm sorry, man.
The ISO-Aussie model is a 7-layer architecture. It defines various network. It's a networking thing. It defines the networking architecture. And you've got different layers. Like you've got the physical layer. Here we go. You've got the physical layer. I used to know these off by heart. The physical layer, the data link layer, the network layer, the transport layer, the session layer, the presentation, and then the application layer. It's actually a model that's used in all of networking. It's a standard model that everyone uses.
Okay.
So we've got the physical layer, right? The internet consists of this physical layer, right? There's all these routers and there's fiber optics and cables, right? And servers and everything else. There's a physical layer, and then there's going to have all these different layers on top. The Internet of Things requires its own layer deep down, I suspect, for it to become a standard.
I'm so out of my element here.
You're out of your element. Okay, well, I do know. So, right, I do have some experience in this.
Okay.
Yeah, from a networking point of view. Anyway, yes, read the article, and I think, it might. So it might require some standards organisation like the OSI to come along, or ISO, the International Standards Organisation, to come along and ratify and go, right, this. But then again, that hasn't helped for other stuff.
Wait, I was going to say, I think I saw an article about that a couple days ago where they were talking about the X25. And they were
right,
like,
yeah.
And that didn't even really take hold. It was like, although this is showing them on different levels, but.
And a few people used it, and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's what it comes down to is like standards. You can never really like tell when a standard is going to be adopted until after the fact, right? I mean, like.
Is there an XKCD for this?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, there's probably like for standards, and like a standard exists for making another standard, and like.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing would be like, I mean, so it seems like with like the internet piece, everyone's doing it, right? Like everyone was kind of wanting to interconnect, and there's a lot of money involved in that. It seems like with the Internet of Things piece, it's a couple of big players, right? And I actually did see this. So let me just say, at the application side of things, like if this then that, I think that's actually a really interesting service because it's so
not going to become a standard.
No, definitely not. But then if you look at like who's actually paying them for their API access and like so who's putting devices on there, right? There's all like the Wemo stuff, and there's all the like Samsung put a bunch of their stuff on there, GE put a bunch of their like devices on there. They publish APIs towards their washing machine or whatever. Like if washing machine done, then send email or then call phone or something like that. I was playing with that the other day. Yeah, and you're right. That's not a standard, but it's just
it's a standard service. Can we
right? But I'm saying that there's not
call it like that.
It's not like every company out there is clamoring to put their device endpoint onto if this then that, right? There are because it's like large scale device manufacturers versus mom and pop shop. It's not connecting individual computers; it's connecting some class of device like Samsung washing machines, right?
But if you were developing an Internet of Things widget, wouldn't you want it on there? Wouldn't you develop a class, an API thingy for that and have it on there? If then.
I mean, if I could afford it and I had the developers to do that kind of thing, sure, right? I mean, that might drive more adoption and stuff like that, but.
Well, you've got to have some service, right?
It's not washing machine. It's Samsung washing machine. It's not light switch. It's Wemo light switch or whatever. So it's still very proprietary, and because these are companies that are trying to differentiate themselves as like I have internet connected thingy, and until everybody puts internet connected thingy and there's some kind of like washing machine, like even just a generally agreed upon standard of like. Washing machine done or whatever, like what I mean, like it's like I don't know, these software layers, and it gets weird.
You've got to have some service so that people can use it. What would you choose? Would you roll your own? Would you use if then that, or would you use some other? There's been a dozen other services out there. There's the Amazon one now, right?
What's the Amazon one?
Don't Amazon have a think they've got an interface or something you can I'm looking for it.
It's not like an endpoint. It's like are you talking about like Alexa and like the Echo Dot and stuff like that? No, this is
the AWS Internet of Things. They've
that thing,
yeah, whatever it's called. Amazon have like 20 million different services,
right?
And I've mentioned on here before that if I was going to rely on an Internet of Things server that would stands the best chance of being around in 10 years' time, I would bet on Amazon.
Yeah,
I would bet on the Amazon server still being around, and we've argued that before.
Yeah, some of that is preference, but I think in general I would probably agree with that most days. I don't know. I'm not planning on putting.
Well, okay. Yeah. If you're doing a startup, Internet of Things startup, you've got your Internet of Things widget, and you're going to the VCs. You've got your pitch deck all ready to go. I mean, like you're going to want to have your own platform, right?
Yes.
Because that's probably going to sound a lot better. You can, like get people to subscribe to your, access to your platform, and that gives you your hockey stick revenue growth, adoption curve that you need on your pitch deck, right? Yeah. And so that's why, like, these things might never work.
Right.
It's
until there's some kind of until it's like so splintered that they're like, oh, I guess we should work together. Then you're right. It's never going to work.
And even then, there will be some reason not to.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Because insert issue here. It's too hard. I give up. Next.
Well, speaking of some of these big companies, and speaking of appliance companies too, I actually met someone that used to work at First Build. Do you remember what that was?
No. What's First Build?
I think we actually talked about it on here at one point. It was actually. Yeah, it was GE's thing. So it was GE appliances. They had some like RS-45 standard where you could basically like hack into fridges and stuff like that. They were kind of trying to open up like devices and stuff like that. Uh-huh. So I met someone that used to work there who now lives in Chicago, and she is running the Fuse, which is kind of interesting.
What's kind of like Fuse?
So Fuse is like GE's new thing where like they have.
Oh, so she's still working for GE.
Yes, but it's like it's a new program, and so it's like a industrial, almost like a contest type thing, like a B2B industrial contest thing, and so they're trying to solve problems. So like these are actual internal problems at GE where they're basically turning them into contests, so that like if grad students know how to fix them, they can just kind of work together and do that kind of thing. And so one of the things was like, how do we see invisible welds in pipes? They're saying HFI pipes. I don't know what kind of pipes those are, but basically it's detecting weld seams and engine inspection for like GE Aviation, like just like big problems that they, are having trouble kind of getting through, kind of throwing it out there. And I think this is an interesting model because they're also working with Local Motors. I don't know if you know who they are. So they're the ones who do kind of like an open innovation model where they basically have community contributed content, and then they're building like cars and bikes and all these different types of vehicles, and then they actually have microfactories where you can go there and pay to go build a car basically on site. And
right, okay, yeah, interesting.
I think it's a really weird and kind of interesting. I think those guys are out of Arizona. Yeah.
So what happened to this GE thing that she was working with before? Is that another example of a standard service that just folded?
No, First Build. So the entire GE appliance division got sold to a Chinese company.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So it went with that, and
I
think. So this is just a evolution of that same idea, but kind of taken to a broader. I mean, obviously GE is huge, but got a chance to talk to Amelia about it, and I don't know. It seems like a really interesting idea. Like, a lot of these things where they're working with maybe like a grad student who might already be doing some of this research, and they kind of take that and then offer money for it and stuff like that. I mean, like there already are methods for working with them, obviously, but it's kind of how do you broadcast that you're looking, right? And I would think that a contest like this, especially it's a very specific thing where it's like welds, right? Like, so you get everybody who's looking at welds and you say, there's real money here, that's kind of interesting. So, and in Chicago, so someone new that I met, so that's nice.
All right, because you're now a Chicagoite.
Chicagoan.
Chicagoan.
Yes.
Chicagoan. My apologies to all you Chicagoans.
Okay. And I found out today I need to. I feel really stupid. Like I was talking to some people on a Slack channel that I'm on. Like I need like a
Slack
nerd
channel.
Slack is like it's like an IRC client kind of.
Oh, chat. So it's a chat.
Yeah,
thing.
It's a chat program.
Oh God,
it's like a modern one.
Right.
But anyways, we were talking about. I was like, well, let me say this first thing here. Speaking of Chicago, I didn't even know. Yeah, I didn't even know about the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago. I didn't even know about that. And it's like, so then I started looking at this thing. I'm like, oh my God, this looks amazing. I have to go here. But I didn't even know it existed. So,
right.
So what I was saying though is that I need like, and maybe this already exists and I just haven't found it. I need like a nerd map. So anytime I go to a new city or anything like that, it's like, here's all the nerdy things you need to see, right? So some of them are obvious, right? Like Computer History Museum and the HP Garage and stuff like that's like obvious, right? But I'm saying like,
register the domain nerdmap.com and then have a Google Maps plugin thing which displays it, and then people can come along and add interesting nerdy stuff.
Maybe I'll do that. Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
NerdyDayTrips.com. I guess that's one thing. Is that one?
Right.
Someone has that.
Someone has that? NerdyDayTrips.com exists?
Yeah, these aren't very good. This isn't very good, but like this is just NerdyDayTrips.com. Apparently that's a thing. It just redirects you back to that map, I think. So, so that kind of thing. I need something like that. So if there are other resources out there, because like I feel like now that I've lived in the city for like 4 months, I should have probably known that. But yeah, but I'm sure there's stuff like that. You and I were talking about when I visit Sydney too. It's like, like there might be some hidden gem that even you don't know about, right?
It's I'm sure there is, but yeah, we have hardly any tech here, but there could be.
But it could be like it could be like your lab is on that map. You know what I mean? Like,
no, right? Okay.
Like it could be. It's not necessarily, but oh no, this Nerdy Day Trips is not what I wanted. Yeah, so maybe
I don't even get anything for that.
What?
Just blank page. Nerdydaytrips.com.
It was. I found a linked map that's like that. So
right.
Anyways, maybe that'll become a thing. Nerd maps or yeah. So if people know about a resource like that or they want to help build one, yeah, that's something that's needed.
Cool.
So you're in Chicago. We'll see.
We have to do it for the... How could we make money out of that? How could we monetize it?
Well, what we do is like you put on a headset and you're like, "Hello, I'm Dave, your tour guide around Sydney."
Right. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Have you seen the intro to my travel YouTube channel?
Your travel YouTube channel?
Oh, no. You haven't seen this? Oh my God.
Wait, is this your old intro? I think maybe I have.
Yeah.
Recount it for the people that are listening right now.
I will send you the link so you can watch it in all its glory again.
Okay.
Here we go. I know this doesn't work on radio, but Chris can at least have a laugh. And yes, I dug it out of the archives. I found it on an old hard drive, which was an intro to a travel channel that I was going to do. And I won't say anything more than that, but I'm glad I didn't go through with it.
There's still time, man. There's still time. It wasn't that bad.
The intro was the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
See, the nice thing about that, though, is like, oh, I'm traveling. It's a business expense. I don't know how that works, you know?
You could.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, no, seriously, if you had a,
Let's talk about business expenses a little bit.
Fine.
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
I was
just debating this morning, actually.
Yeah?
Like, I got a sore neck at the moment, and I need to get it, need to get like a massage to sort of help it out. It's been lingering around for a while, so I thought, I wonder if I can claim that.
No.
I wonder if I can claim that.
At least not in the States. You could not.
Right, okay. Now, I don't want to ask my accountant because my accountant always says no, and I've found that is complete and utter bullshit.
That's an accountant's job to be more conservative about that stuff.
Conservative, but, yeah, of course, they'll always say no, right? Because their ass is on the line if you get ordered and they said yes, right? Well, food, for example, right? I found that, I claim food expenses that I have. Like, if I go have a lunch now, right, I can actually claim that. No, yourself? Just on my own, right? Okay. As long as I am not entertaining myself or entertaining someone else, I can actually claim that. Now, if you
go to... with that, at least in the States. Again, this is just in the States. I disagree with that.
Okay, well, here you would disagree with it as well, and so would most accountants. Most accountants would say, no, you cannot claim that because it's unless you're traveling. And that's what my accountant told me, right? And that's what the tax website actually says and implies as well, the top level. But if you actually go deep down, as I did, deep down into the tax website and actually searched their rulings, which is different to their top level advice, right? To their actual tax rulings, yes, it's actually okay. And they've even got a list of under what circumstances you can do it and everything. And I showed this to my accountant and he went, yeah, you're right. It's like, shit, no, I should be charging you, right?
Hold on a second. So this can be taken to extremes though, because I used to work with like one of the most brilliant firmware engineers I've ever worked with. And then like you start talking to him about, whatever, life, and I'll call him Bob here. And Bob's like, he's like, yeah, and so like you'll be talking about, and like if you do this in C, but then you put in an assembly here, and you really have to understand the opcodes and blah 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 blah, and this and that, and CISC is better than RISC and whatever, and you get deep into this stuff, and then at a certain point he would just turn around and he'd be like, yeah, if you really look at it too, you really don't have to pay taxes.
Like, right.
What?
Oh, he's one of those freemen, is he? Is he a freeman?
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, Bob, I'm pretty sure that's illegal. And then, and then like in the same amount of, breathless exhilaration, he'll tell you all about that too. It's like, oh, that's why he's so good at firmware, because he's crazy.
Right.
But he was really good at firmware. So
I claim haircuts.
Yeah. Well,
I claim
okay.
haircuts.
So then,
I'm an entertainer. I'm a public figure. I have to maintain.
Okay, so
a
then
look.
what I'm going to do here is back up a second and say we are not accountants. We are not lawyers. We are not giving any kind of legal advice, nor should you take it as such. However, we are going to give our experiences, and Dave's going to record the fact on air that he claims haircuts. I do not claim haircuts.
I claim haircuts, and I claim bloody meals when I eat them, sustaining meals, and I have the links and the proof at the tax office website to back up my claims.
I'm not going to argue that, because I don't. And again, that's another thing. Is like right, you and I are in very different countries, and
totally.
You need to check with your local laws too. I would never do that.
But what
I'm
saying here is that you have to. If you research this, you might find that, don't believe top-level advice, because it may be wrong. Okay, I pay my accountant a shitload of money, right? For advice, and he got it absolutely, totally wrong.
Right, but he's
absolutely, totally wrong.
But that's one case, and he's really protecting you in a lot more cases than that. So
yeah, but
I know what you're saying. But anyway, so let's talk about the other stuff though. So I think it's interesting. Okay, so at least in the States,
why were we talking about?
So we were talking about just business expenses in general.
Yeah, why? Is there a point?
Oh, because I said, if you had a travel YouTube channel, you could claim. I joked you could claim
it,
all travel as that, and I don't know how that would refer to travel channel, but what I do know is that if you're working on prototypes for people, and if you're working at if you have a business and you're building electronics, and specifically you're building them for projects that are for other people that you're going to sell commercially and stuff like that.
So you're a commercial contractor.
Exactly. Like you don't even need to be. You don't need to be incorporated in order to claim that as a business expense. Now, again, you should check with your local accountant.
No, you can. It's the same here in Australia. You can be a sole trader. You don't have to have a company business name.
Right.
I see, sole proprietor. Same thing.
Right. I'm just making that blanket statement of you should check. You should check your local laws, blah, blah, blah. Because, and that's another thing to mention, right? It's like you can claim whatever you want, but at a certain point, you might get in trouble for it. So
no, because we, as I'm sure you do in the US, you have a self-reporting tax system.
Right. Yep.
Right? Yeah, like you can claim anything you damn well like. And I could put in a claim that I claimed, a fraudulent claim that, the tax department owes me $100,000 in back taxes, and they would pay me, right? There's forms I fill in and say, no, I'm readjusting my tax for the previous year and you owe me $50,000. And they would actually pay me that. Money would come into my account. But then my risk of getting audited the next year,
you get a knock on the door real quick,
and the sound of that glove being snapped onto the hand as they, rubber glove,
right. Right, and it's not worth it to play with fire there. I personally, I think
it's a self,
because I think that especially in electronics, if you are doing this stuff anyways, you can probably make more money building stuff for people than you would ever save money on taxes and stuff like that.
On taxes.
Right?
That's why I claim very little, because it's just not worth, like I know people who go, oh, my accountant's fantastic. They found that I can claim 10% of my electricity because I work from home. It's like, do you know that's worth, like, how much that's worth? Like, it's not even worth your time to claim that.
Yep.
Let
for
alone,
me, that'd be like I think I have a $30 power bill, so it'd be like
exactly.
$3 a month.
$3. I know it's not even worth
not
claiming.
all of that even goes towards. You wouldn't get a $3 rebate each month. You'd get whatever your tax rate is times that. So like 25% of $3. So 75 cents.
I used to do that like decades ago, right? I'd claim every freaking cent because these days, I just don't bother. I couldn't care less. It's not worth my time.
Right.
Seriously.
So I think that it's interesting though, because so there are probably people out there that are looking at, maybe starting consulting or contracting or whatever. It is possible to go. So I have a friend that even goes on Craigslist in the States, or he goes on, what's the one? It's not called Odesk anymore. It's called Plesk, maybe. But, there are people looking for contractors. Personally, like that's kind of like an open system where you can, people will bid and say, oh, I'm looking to make like a vaporizer and I need to, they say, here's what I need. And then you can bid on it and say, here's my hourly rate, that kind of thing.
Yep.
That's never as good as like building up your name and starting where people seek you out. And
of course.
And I think the best way to do that is to be building your own projects at first, publishing those online, do it for yourself at first, publish your work, and then eventually people are going to come to you and say, look, I want you to do that for me, and then usually that quickly turns into more opportunities than you even know what you can do with, and then you can just take the ones that'll actually pay you if that's your interest. So that's a much better way to do it, in my opinion.
Never take a job that's unpaid.
Well, as someone who talked about pro bono engineering, I'm bucking that. I am bucking that trend, but
you are bucking that trend. Yeah,
it's a very conscious thing. Yes,
right. Yeah. No, you have to have very specific goals and reasons in mind to do that. So
right, but I think what it really gets back to is like if you're interested in eventually doing that kind of thing, or even interested now, I think one of the best ways to still do it is to just publish your work. Go on Hackaday.io, go on Hackster, go on
Dude, I've been saying that for 30 years.
Well, I know. It's okay to reiterate things, Dave. You and I have been known to repeat ourselves.
To repeat ourselves, you think?
Right. Yeah. Once in a while. We should mention our friends over at Hackster. They just got acquired by Avnet. Did you see that?
Good. No, I was going to ask who's been acquired this week.
Yeah.
So Hackster's been acquired.
Yeah.
So is this even on the link? Is this on the
it's there.
Reddit?
Yeah. So Hackster was bought by Avnet. No word on how much, but I know them. They're great. They got a great. They do a lot of contests and stuff too. They do a lot of like in-person contests at like hackathons and stuff. Right. So that's interesting.
So have we talked about Hackster before?
I'm not sure we have. But they're a good site. And they just got bought by Avnet, so we'll see if that. I'm guessing it probably won't change things too much. So we'll find out over time.
So Hackster is a community dedicated to learning hardware. Choose a category. Oh, that doesn't work. It just says type. Arduino.
Yeah, yep. You're just browsing during our show.
It's a community thing. It's almost like Twitter. It's almost like Facebook. Sorry.
I guess so. Like it's also kind of like. I was listening. I was watching Ask an Engineer. They were mentioning about this too, and they brought up Instructables too. So it's kind of like Instructables.
Oh, okay.
Hackaday.io is kind of similar too, and so it's basically a place to document your projects. It's a place to interact with people about it. So Instructables is I guess that was a really big one. They were bought by Autodesk a while ago. So I don't know if I'm really a fan of publishing your projects on sites like this. If you were to ask me, I would say do your own site, have your own website, publish your own projects on there. Build up like I would say the same thing, but some people can't or don't want to. So
which is fine. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. So
but if someone came to me asking for advice, that's what I'd tell them: start your own website, start your own blog or whatever, and publish on there.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Or both, or do it both. Maybe you want to get the community aspect, and you want to make sure it sticks around forever. So,
I wonder what a website like that's worth.
I have no idea.
To Avnet.
But I do know that Mentor Graphics apparently is worth $4.5 billion.
All right. Yes, I knew there was an acquisition somewhere. Yeah. Yes. Who bloody bought them?
Siemens, the German industrial company. My former nemesis, apparently. When I was at ABB, Siemens was one of our competitors.
They were arch enemies. Yeah. Siemens bought Mentor Graphics. If you don't know, Mentor Graphics are one of the big three, in quote marks, of the PCB space.
Yeah, but this is actually, Cadence, they were not being bought for, they were being bought for the other piece, not for the PCB stuff.
Yeah, Mentor also do, the chip level tools and
and that's the big stuff. That's the 4 out of the 4.5 billion probably. So that's the big money. And they're this is their software service company. Synopsys and Cadence are their big competition. So I don't know why Siemens did, but
I did read the article, but is there any plans to integrate them with Siemens, or are they going to continue to operate them as Mentor Graphics and they just want the revenue?
Probably.
Or what?
Yeah,
probably.
I would assume so. I mean, like, there's not like that. I mean, so it's like Siemens does a lot of, like, they're huge in the industrial space, right? So
they're massive. You have no
unless
idea.
Unless Siemens wants to, and I think they do make some of their own chips and stuff like that, but I can't imagine they wouldn't shut out the other pieces. You don't like buy a $4.5 billion business for $4.5 billion
just because you don't want to pay the license anymore,
right? Or in order to cut the business out from underneath it, right?
No.
If they've got $1 billion in revenue or whatever it is, you don't want to be like, oh, well, we just paid all this money. Might as well not make any money in the future, you know. So yeah, I would think they would want to keep.
But then again, if you just want to buy a company for its revenue, there are countless choices, right? I mean, why Mentor? There's got to be some strategic, technical reason for it, which will be interesting to see long term. But yep.
So one other acquisition, because this is the acquisition hour.
We should just rename the show. Seriously.
We should just
Like we could start up another podcast, you know, the acquisition hour, and like
I think we should make it more like the acquisition 10 minutes. We should really just 10
minutes, and just seriously announce each week an acquisition.
Right. It's like a ticker tape. Eventually, though, it should turn down a little bit, right?
You would think that there's going to be just one big alphabet type thing that owns company. Everything, right?
Yeah. So the last one is Silicon Labs, who is based out of my former hometown, Austin, Texas.
Yeah, didn't we do that the other week? Is that new?
No. This is new.
Silicon Labs buys Micrum.
Oh, we did talk about that last week. Did we?
I think I don't know. Apologies if we did.
I usually make the same jokes about getting the Micrum book, that big tome. Probably.
There was a tweet. Somebody... I forget, who's the chip company that always, Realtek? Is it Realtek? Or somebody who always hides their data sheets away under NDA bullshit? And then somebody...
last time we were talking about MediaTek, and that was what the...
Is that MediaTek? Right.
Well,
did they get acquired?
Usually it's more like Broadcom. Broadcom is the one that you think about, like the Raspberry Pi chip. Is that
it? Anyway, somebody bought one of these companies that hides their data sheets under NDAs. As soon as they bought them, they just released all the data sheets. I thought that was brilliant.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, maybe. It was on Twitter. So somebody tweeted and I retweeted it, and I forget. And I could look through, but it could take a while. Okay. I thought I should have just added that to the Reddit. I thought that was interesting. Yep. I didn't verify it, so, you know.
Gotcha.
Forgive me. But, I thought that was cool. I would love to do that, you know, like buy a company and then just give away all their, you know, like it's something that's pissing you off, you know.
That seems really stupid, Dave.
No, but not giving everything away, like, you know, but like stuff that should be free and it's not, and they're just tying you up with red tape NDA bullshit, right?
Right.
And,
a lot of the guys that are in charge of these deals, they don't really care about. They don't care about openness or really anything other than money.
No, I just think it's a cool thing to do. You know, it's Well,
speaking of openness, formerly discussed, but now with a new goal in mind, the OpenV is now on CrowdSupply. So people know that we've had Josh on from CrowdSupply, and they actually did change the. I don't know if you saw. They did change the front page.
They changed something based on my feedback?
Over twice the success rate of Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Right as the first top line. There you go, Dave.
Yes.
Finally enacting change in the world, buddy.
Yeah, finally. All this 7 years has just been worth it, building up to this one moment where I enact change, you know.
That's right. This is previously mentioned, we had mentioned the RISC-V, and so this is a new open source piece of silicon. It's very interesting. We had been corrected on a couple of things we said about it, and I really don't know enough about it, even still, to talk about it here. You can go read about it, but the thing that jumps out to me immediately is this is a $480,000 crowdfunding goal. So
ouch.
Donate now because they're
they're
take
up
a while.
they're up to 9,900 and they've got 43 days left. They want 480 grand because that's what it costs, right? Is that have they got a breakdown of where the money, how the money's spent? Because that'd be interesting.
I almost guarantee. No, I don't know if it's on here, but it's almost guaranteed to be around the fabrication, right? If you want to get
of course. Yeah. I'd love to know if they've got exact numbers on that and they're publishing them. Though. Yeah. That'd be cool. Anyway, is it available in dip package?
I don't think so. There's a breakout board. There's a breakout board in the dip format.
I was going to back them, but now it's like
yeah. So let's see. So for the
it's
dev
available
board
in a QFN 32.
Yeah, and if you want the dev board, it's $99. So that'll have like a SD card slot and a regulator and EEPROM and micro USB stuff like that. So that's really the one to do. If you want to get at it, if you want to just support them, buy a chip or just give them $5. But if you want to start using it as soon as you get it, I would say go for the $99. Get the first open source chip ever. I think it's a great idea. I think it's really cool, but
hang on,
that's a heavy one. Yeah,
it's all great being silicon, but have they got? Are they, because it's open source? Does that mean that the HDL is available and you can just drop this as a processor core into your FPGA?
I don't know.
Because it's kind of pointless having an open source chip if you can't do that. I mean, what the hell are people going to do? Take your open code and then go, oh, I'm going to make a slight variation of this, and then I'm going to go fab my own chip. Like it's just not going to happen. Right?
I think that is the plan to get to that point of. Well,
that would have been my plan from day one. Is that like here, if we make this goal,
here we go. Free and open source.
Will release the.
Yeah. So look, you can already go to their GitHub account. So it's github.com/onchipuis. Onchip UIS. And basically, these are the people. So they've got the programmer, they've got the core, they've got the processor.
Here we go.
The Vivado project.
Maker
so you can already pull this
into
the Vivado, which is the Xilinx thing. So
the Xilinx thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's good. And what I was going to get at with this stuff is I think that $480,000 that's a huge goal. It's definitely doable, and I definitely encourage people to at least give $5.
It's very cool.
I would think that this project is likely going to be made on other programs. So like this is really good, I think, especially for college programs that are looking to be able to immediately dig into a core like this, right, and take it and simulate it with that kind of thing.
Around with, yep.
So totally. Especially if you're at a university where you're working on this kind of stuff, if you're interested, talk to your professor. Go and see if you can throw in $5,000, $10,000 toward this type of thing. Get early access. Work on the project beforehand. Maybe you can just, I think that would be a best case scenario to really kind of supercharge this project. But like I said, I think it's also good for people that are, interested in open source. Mm-hmm. It's a big effort, right? So that's really great.
Oh, it's huge.
And we'll try and talk to these folks at some point as well. So RISC-V, yes, a risky project with RISC-V.
Or is its name actually OpenV?
RISC-V I think the project name is OpenV, but it's the core is RISC-V. Yeah.
Is it called RISC-V or is it called RISC-V?
Yeah, they actually have it written out as RISC-V. So
sweet.
Yeah.
32-bit. Why didn't they go to 64?
I don't know.
We'll have to get them on and ask.
Yep. Yeah, and it's interesting too because I saw the project is listed as coming out of I'm going to butcher this, Bucaramanga, Colombia.
Oh yes, sure. Yeah, that's probably yep.
Maybe that's a university there or something there, but
send your money to Colombia. Sorry to all our Colombian listeners.
Oh, it looks like a big city actually, like from Google, but I don't know much about it. So
yeah, I was going to ask like who is behind it.
More details in the future. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sure if we watch the video, we could find out maybe.
No, the video actually doesn't show much.
They don't have people. No, it just doesn't show people.
There's people at the bottom, so.
I like videos that show people. I want, I want to see who's doing it.
Right, you kind of want the story behind it a little bit too, but...
Oh, no, yeah, I don't want the Solar Roadways story.
No, you don't want a sob story, but you want...
No, exactly. Oh, we met when we were 3 years old and we knew we'd be together forever. Like, right? Yeah. No. But no, I just want to see and hear the person behind a crowdfunding campaign, Yeah, star in your own videos, damn it. Otherwise, I'm not going to back you.
Okay, so one last thing. This is actually an older link. I was just kind of trolling around in Reddit today looking at what's interesting on, some of my subreddits are like ECE and electronics and nice chips and stuff like that. And I saw one on there, and it was the title was Building an SDR from Scratch. And it was actually from 4 months ago. I didn't realize. It's just got reposted. But so you read through this thing. It's like a $300 SDR radio, blah, 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 blah. And then you read a couple more things about this. And the guy is 18. He did a full SDR build from scratch on an Oshpark board, figured it all out, full FPGA on like an Arctic 7.
And he's used Altium Designer to design it. How does, at 18, how do you get an Altium Designer license?
I do not know, but this is it's really good documentation too. Apparently he's at MIT now, so I don't know who this guy is. If he's listening.
Oh, right. So he's obviously got a student license of Altium Designer. Okay.
Sure,
right. Yep. Okay, right.
But very impressive. And,
nice work.
Yeah, great write-up too. So definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, it looks very comprehensive. Yeah. Impressive. So, there's a lot of effort which goes into producing something like that.
Right,
See,
so this is a great example, right? This is like what you're talking about, where it's like this is now going to live on his site forever, and this is a great
his
portfolio
site,
piece.
Right?
Yeah.
Electronics.kitchen. I didn't even know there was a .kitchen space.
There are so many
I know, right?
TLDs now.
Anyway, electronics.kitchen, right? If seriously, like Lucas Lao Bayer. Lucas Lao Bayer.
Yeah.
Lucas Bayer. If this was in your resume, I would check out your website. I look at this post, and I don't even have to look further.
Give you a job.
You're hired, right? Seriously, it's that simple, right? Because I know the amount of effort that goes into producing. You can't bullshit your way through this stuff, right? It's like, he's laid out the boards, stencils, extensive photos. He knows all about measuring the spectrum and the bandwidths and everything. Like, dude, you're hired. That's all you have to do, folks. It's just one. That's all you have to do. One big one project like
just
that.
Start with whatever you're doing. Definitely, I think that the documentation. I remember I titled an episode after something you said, where you said documentation's a waste of time. I would like to refute that, and I think 2016 current day Dave. I forgot what it was.
When have I ever said documentation's a waste of time?
I think it was probably tongue in cheek, but
in jest. Okay, yeah.
Right. Let's see. It was back in March of 2016, episode 289. I will link that in as well.
Okay.
I don't remember why you said it.
Yeah. Okay. Right. Documentation is a waste of time.
Oh, here we go. Okay, that's what it is. There is fidelity loss in documentation, especially if you're relying on key designers. Dave has once been told, quote, documentation is a waste of time.
Oh, okay, right, yes.
So it wasn't actually
yes,
Dave.
That comes from my Altium days, yeah.
Yeah.
I was probably talking about Altium. Okay.
Right. Okay, so it wasn't Dave saying that, but still, I remember that, like, specifically because I titled an episode that. Oh, man, that's funny. So we both agree, documentation is not a waste of time.
No.
Yeah. It still sucks though, like it's not easy, right? It's you're making videos, like it's I make videos about that stuff too.
Documentation is yeah. Oh, and he's done his schematics very similar to mine with the outline block diagram, with the outline block diagrams and separating the blocks with the colors and putting headers on them.
I actually he talked about in one of his posts. He was talking about his home kit, and it was basically the EEV block starter pack. So I would not be surprised if he's on your forum or watches your stuff or listens to this show.
Under a pseudonym.
Right.
Yep.
We're everywhere, Dave. We are Legion.
Yep. Right.
Let's see. Anything else on this list? There's car stuff. Samsung just bought a car electronics company. Blah. Intel's going to be investing in self-driving cars. Blah. LiDAR. Oh, actually, this is kind of interesting. There is a newly available LiDAR chip for $5. That is actually kind of interesting. So this is from, who's it by? Osram. So basically they're going to be selling a standalone LiDAR chip, and that could be very interesting.
Right. Okay.
I mean, some of this is... The claims are a little bit like this is on TechCrunch. They're like a $5 chip that works as well as a $70 tower system and hockey puck size $8,000 system. It's like no, not really. It's not going to work that well because you probably still need external stuff and there's no.
Well, I was going to say what sensors do you have to hook up? I mean, is it like it's just the chips, the smarts, right? Actually processing the stuff. It's not like shit's being emitted from the chip.
Yeah, I don't think so. So I think it's probably like it's probably a adjustment system and. But let's see. And this is an electronic announcement too. So
it has 4 laser diodes connected together to ensure accuracy. Yeah, but the lasers aren't on the freaking die.
Right, exactly. Well, yeah, and if you look at this chip, it's just the chip, but it's probably, in terms of accessibility, this is a good step forward. So if you wanted to make, now you just have to add the motor system and the mapping and stuff like that. So it's probably, so yeah, and it's from Osram too. So it is probably all around the laser piece, right? Because they do a lot of lasers
they're totally
and opto
into
stuff.
all that.
Yeah.
So,
but still, I mean, this is not like LiDAR is going to get much bigger.
No.
Huh.
They're claiming peak optical output from the chip. This is like a hybrid module that the lasers are on the chip.
I don't see. I'm looking at the picture and maybe.
Okay, well, here's the web page. Here's the web page.
But I'm just saying that it looks like it's a chip, and so I don't understand how that would work. But people have to look for themselves because they obviously can't see it here. Yep. Either way, look, there's a cap in there, right? It's like a system on module, right? So they're showing like an enclosed cap, but people will have to check this out. At the very least, it's more accessible, so that piece is cool.
Yep.
Oh yeah, 8 by 5 millimeter, 8 millimeter by 5 millimeter.
It will be available from early summer 2017. Market launch plan for 2018. Oh, boo.
Right. So,
boo.
I think the main thing too is that if people are interested, so say someone in our listening audience is interested in LiDAR and putting it on drones or something like that, you're probably still going to buy a finished LiDAR module. Right, like a spinning.
Oh, of course, you're not going. Don't roll. You don't roll. Nobody rolls their owns anymore.
But this potentially, this kind of technology and being available to the LiDAR module makers that could drop the cost of that. That's ultimately
of course, yes.
Yeah. And there's probably other stuff in the pipeline too.
Yeah, you can buy a $10-$20 LiDAR module on AliExpress. That's the
right. That's the ultimate thing. And that's what you're really hoping for at the application.
Of course.
Implementation. So
operating voltage 24 volts. Jeez.
That makes sense for cars, right?
Oh, yeah, well, okay,
maybe not cars, but I guess cars are 12, but...
Yeah, but, other vehicles are 24, like trucks and stuff are 24, aren't they?
Yeah. Yep, well, there is lots of other links, and we add links to our subreddit each week, and we encourage people to add stuff, including, for next week, we will have Tesla 500 on here. So if you have questions for him about high-speed cameras or how things are done, just add... a text post to our subreddit. Just say question for Tesla 500 : what the question is, or be creative. Yep. You can figure it out. But if you have questions, you can ask them there.
Cool. And thanks to all our Patreon supporters.
Of course. And we are thankful for them. It's Thanksgiving in the States, so thankful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Anyways, to all my American brethren, have a good holiday. Dave, we'll talk next week.
Catch you next time.